Hello and welcome to Please Won't You Shut Up, a Star Trek Picard podcast. I'm your girlfriend who lives in Canada, Mikki Lexa.
Apparently I'm your boyfriend who lives in Dartmouth, Blake.
And I'm your hot side piece, Brent.
That's going on a t-shirt. This is a spoiler-free podcast for any episodes of Picard, which is kind of a brand new way that we're going to do Please Won't You Shut Up, at least so long as there are episodes of this, and probably Discovery, and apparently some cartoon that Brent may have hallucinated.
Yeah, I still haven't heard about this.
Can we call it like make it so?
Yes. Let's
yeah,
go with that.
absolutely we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole segment, because if it's not real, perhaps they should make it so.
Make it so. Anyway, today we're doing a soft relaunch based around Picard, and we're going to just, before we go into an episode-by-episode breakdown as they come out, kind of, we're 3 episodes behind, but never you mind, we're going to first set the scene on how we ended up in Picard canonically, and especially after a very confusing meta-universal last few years. Yeah,
It's been on the tumble dry.
It's been on a tumble dry. Someone forgot, and it's been spinning, and like everything's good and dry now. We're all set. But
you also threw a blanket in there, like a wet comforter.
Yeah,
right in the middle of laundry.
It just takes a little bit longer, you know. So at the beginning of Picard, really, the first bit of Picard that we get to see is the Trek short, Children of Mars.
Right.
Which we watched a few weeks ago.
And was, I gotta say, fantastic.
It was really fantastic. Yeah. So for those who haven't seen it, it's 2 kids who are kind of, one's a little preppy, one's a little not. And they're at some kind of school or private school in the future, and they kind of don't like each other.
It's like a bully and
one's a bully and the other won't take the shit, and so they get in trouble at school. 1 second, did that stop recording? No, good. Anyway, they get in trouble at school and they're waiting for the principal when essentially 9/11 happens. I'm sure that happened to someone. Yeah, like this has to be drawn from someone's experience.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Oh, I was waiting in the principal's office and then 9/11 happened. Yeah, that has to have been based. Oh my God, the look I'm getting from this dog. That has to be based on someone's personal experience during 9/11 or something, because it feels very real. Of just instead of showing us this attack on Mars, which at the time you don't know what it's about, you just see these children reacting to the news and reacting to the sudden fear and confusion in the adults around them.
It's such a more effective way to introduce what happened.
Brilliant.
It's great, because I mean, had they done it with the boom boom and shown that whole scene oh wow, action and shit, and then we'd all be expecting the season to be a bunch of action, which thankfully it's not, because they've overdone action in Picard ventures before, certain movies that kind of blew.
We don't talk about those movies except when we have to talk about those movies.
But this was great. You got all the devastation, and you got you got the ripple effect of oh no, terrible things are impacting everyone off-world in the Federation. This
shit got real.
Yeah.
Moment when everybody's
hey, I remember how awesome everything got after 9/11. They're gonna go through that.
Yeah, and it's a really effective thing, moment, to choose Mars of all places. So, for those who are familiar, or for those who are unfamiliar with the Star Trek map, the galaxy as it is, a full quarter of the galaxy, that is thousands of stars, probably hundreds of thousands of stars, tens of thousands of star systems are encapsulated within the Federation, and that's just a quarter of the galaxy. And they managed, this enemy managed to attack the planet right next to Earth. It's such a really good, as you say, it's a 9/11 moment where it's just no, they went right for the jugular.
It's as effective as destroying Vulcan was.
Yes.
Without being nearly as offensive.
Yes.
How fucking dare... I'm so mad about that still. Yeah. But Mars, Mars had a good presence in canon.
Yes, it did.
Like, Cisco worked at Utopia Planitia.
It was the industrial backyard of...
The Doctor came from
Starfleet.
There. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
it was the stroppy
It was the industrial
teenager.
park of... you're right, of the Federation, yep.
And like, it was always fascinating that it was always there, but it was never really a place that was a setting.
From Jupiter Station, sorry.
Oh, well, still.
My bad.
But Jupiter Station, we're still talking about within the system. It's essentially...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
plus Utopia Planitia sounds so much cooler.
Oh, I love the name Utopia Planitia.
Yeah. Mars is still burning.
Oh, that is the coolest cool.
Wait, are we spoiling things? We're not.
No,
because this was a mini thing.
Because that was mentioned.
That's just a throwaway line.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into that in the next episode.
You know, as fucked as Mars looks, if you've only seen the little mini webisode, which I doubt anyone has seen at this point, but still, we'll give the audience the benefit of the doubt. Like, yeah, it's as fucked as you think it is and more.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Now that so I looked into the timeline because it doesn't really give you a clear timeline. It doesn't muddy the timeline intentionally or unintentionally or anything.
No.
But it doesn't tell you which precise moment occurs at which precise time.
Mm-hmm.
So I did look into that, and the first place we have to go for setup for this is unfortunately Star Trek Nemesis.
Okay.
Which I believe
is that the last.
That's
place
the last
we've
movie.
been timeline wise. Yeah, because Voyager was back because Admiral Janeway's.
Yeah, Admiral Janeway's back.
Admiral Janeway.
Oh, Admiral Janeway. And it's we only have to make a pit stop there, thankfully.
Okay.
Though I do find it fascinating that the last three major villains, the ones in, the last three major groups that stories have revolved around have been Romulans. Nemesis had the Remans taking over the Senate. Star Trek 09 had Romulan refugees.
Which one is that one?
That was the one where Vulcan got blown up.
Right, yeah, okay.
Who blew up Vulcan.
Yeah.
And then we get to this that is kind of focused around the refugee situation, which we will go into details in a moment. So in Nemesis, Shinzon, a evil clone of Picard, who was raised on Remus after the Romulans decide not to go through in a mining shaft, where he became their king because he's white.
If you haven't seen Nemesis, the lesson to take away from this little episode is don't.
Oh my god.
It starts out as Les Miserables and ends very differently.
Yes, it starts as Les Miserables, and then at the end, we're all miserables.
Wait a minute. Is that the one where Troy and Riker get married at the start?
That is, yes.
Okay.
And Leslie's there.
It's worth it only for introducing the very first moments in the very first episode, which we'll talk about in the next episode, which I loved.
Fair enough.
That set the tone perfectly for me, and they couldn't have done that without the introduction to Nemesis. So
yes,
Nemesis
no, that's very
Don't
true.
watch it if you haven't. But
also, that very same moment introduces us to the greatest technology in Trek history: the plastic see-through neon green symbol. It replaces the brass symbol on the band's drum at the performance because it's futuristic.
Oh God. Oh, God.
And it's the only instrument that has been futurified. Not even the rest of the drums. The cymbals are plastic.
That's awful.
Yes, it is. Completely fucking pointless in a show that has never had or felt the need to update any of that. Like, you know.
Pointless shit.
See, I'm still a fan of Insurrection. I know a lot of people give it gruff.
It's an excellent episode.
But it is it's an extended episode.
Yes.
It's an extended episode that they actually dive into it, and he walks away from Starfleet to do it.
Yeah, there was so much potential, and no one treated it with any gravitas, and so it rolls into this, which has absolutely no gravitas. Sorry, I'm watching an impromptu dogfight.
Out.
Oh, you too.
Lord in heaven, get out. Wine outside all you want, huh? Come on, out. Go fight outside.
Canines.
This show is sponsored by Patience.
Anyway, so That occurs, I believe, in the mid 2370s.
Which is this Nemesis?
Nemesis.
Okay.
And so Shinzon has this ridiculous revenge scheme against a man that he's never met for essentially existing, because it's a very stupid movie.
Dominion War is over?
Dominion War is over.
Yeah. The more we talk about Nemesis, the more I'm reminded how terrible it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who wrote that?
That was the same guy who wrote Gladiator.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, so like it should have been better.
It should have been better.
It should have been much better.
Huh, okay.
I can't remember his name right now. I think Logan is in his name at some point.
Okay. We'll forgive him and we'll leave him unnamed after slagging off Nemesis so hard.
Somehow, somewhere, without any prior detail, Shinzon found a third android in the line of data and lore called B4, who was mentally deficient. Because someone at some point,
prototype.
Yes, a prototype who was very, very slow and had no personality. And apparently what had happened is Brent Spiner, of course, wanted out. He didn't want to have to put on all that makeup anymore.
Yeah.
And he didn't want a solid paying job. But he wanted a way that he could come back in, so they said, okay, we're killing Data, but you have this thing that you can just load your mind up to.
Yeah.
So they kill Data. Data is dead.
Harkens back to the same scene I keep talking about too.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Action.
Okay, I hate a movie that I take deep enjoyment out of the bookends of.
Yes. The way it works into the universe, cool. It itself, crap. It's the exact opposite of Insurrection.
Yes.
Where the way it works into the universe doesn't make sense, but it's fantastic.
Admiral
It's a Nebula episode. It's a bottle episode.
Exactly. It's a fantastic bottle episode, especially since it more or less occurs in a bottle because it's in Nebula.
Yeah.
Everything occurs in one place, same as Star Trek Beyond.
But it also shows how Starfleet at that time was the one admiral was not a good character.
Yeah,
he was kind of a shitty Riker.
He was a really shitty Riker. He even looked like old shitty Riker.
Yeah.
He should have been like Riker's father, and Riker would have just been like, yeah, my old man's a dick.
Anyone else should have played Riker's father. That character is ludicrous.
Who dated Pulaski.
Oh my god.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and him and Pulaski dated when they were in...
They would do anything to shoehorn Pulaski in that season.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta ground her here somewhere.
You remember
We're not
Pulaski?
gonna jettison her the next season.
You remember Pulaski?
I love Pulaski.
Oh, she was way better than
she's the closest
Crusher.
to McCoy.
Yeah.
In I'm the doctor.
But I think they were
you know what else
shit, we still have Wesley.
Net zero ghost sensuality.
Yeah. No one bones a ghost.
Yeah.
Although in Nemesis, there is a mind rape.
Okay, Deanna Troi gets raped at the drop of a hat in the shows and the movies. It's fucking terrible. Yeah. They're just like, we need to liven this up a little bit and give it some gravitas. Let's have somebody either psychically or really rape Deanna.
Actually, yeah. And she's the counselor. So who does she talk to?
She apparently doesn't need to talk to anyone because she manages to, be knocked up against her will by an alien fucking presence that gives birth essentially to itself.
Yeah.
And then what? Doesn't it grow old and die, or at least?
No, it changes form and.
It just leaves.
It's I'm done.
Yeah.
Bye.
And she's like, "Wow, we all learned something special this week." The writers are complete fucking sociopaths.
I mean, sometimes you have a lazy ass episode.
Man.
You know what I really want to hear in future Picard, and I'm just gonna put it out there, is the voice of the computer as what's her face. From TNG, the
Masha Barrett.
Masha Barrett.
Oh yeah.
Just to have somebody go by with an older computer, and all of a sudden you hear that voice just off in the background.
That'd be cool.
Just as a little throwaway.
Like maybe they find an older ship or something.
Oh, total mini digression here for a second. So I was watching. I watch too much Deep Space Nine. So every once in a while, in my continuous effort where I try to not fail at learning French, I'll just watch DS9 in French for a while because I know every fucking episode, so I can figure it out.
Well, that's a unique way of trying.
But the computer voice sounds like the, you know how if we have any American listeners, they will not understand this, but Canadian listeners will know what I mean by the generic French translation voice on like, any government like announcements.
Yes.
Like, you know how it's always that voice. Fucking sounds exactly like her. It's so engrossing. It takes you into the DS9 as a real world experience more than the actual English show because it's just so relatable. Anytime they talk to the computer, I'm like, that's so weird. I feel like I'm at like Halifax Airport or something.
The only thing that I don't like about the French over talking is the person who does Kira Nerese's voice is so like.
Kira's not great. Cisco's fantastic.
Cisco's great.
Cisco's like.
Kira's like.
Oh, that's
on it. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
And like immediately for some reason, the minute you said like French Kira, I was just like, oh my god, yes, I bet that is horrible.
Oh yeah, it's not good. There's a couple other ones that are pretty bad, but like, yeah, I think Kira's the most offensive. Cisco is the one that I actually like every once in a while I forget. I'm just like, that's really well done.
I must have French Quark. I must.
How is French Quark? I don't remember. I don't think he's great.
Oh no.
French Garrick is not sufficient.
Oh no.
Yeah,
come on.
I know. Well, I mean, and think about the way those two characters not only make that show in a lot of ways, but they make it because of the way they speak.
Okay. But
we're really going off the rails.
I know.
I apologize. That was all my doing, but I think it's worth it.
One more thing, because it's so necessary now. Odo is a very Gallic character.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very French character.
Yes.
Is there justice done?
Odo's not bad.
Odo's pretty good. It reminds me of the mystery show from like Inspector Clouseau.
Okay.
The voice kind of comes across more like the. Like he's very. Oh, what about this here? Like,
so he sounds like Peter Sellers doing a bad French accent.
I feel like the Chief is done all right as well.
Chief and Keiko are good.
I really feel like the Chief should be okay. And I mean, I don't have an ear for French. I'm terrible, so I couldn't tell you where the voices are from. It sounds familiar to me, so I presume this is a Quebec dub and not a France dub, but I'm not sure. You would think on Netflix Canada that it would be a Canadian dub. And
that can really change things. The Canadian versus like French dubs of Simpsons change entire episodes.
Now, this is the other reason I suspect that it's Canadian dubbing is because it does not match the closed caption French.
Ah, okay.
And the closed caption French, again, with my very limited knowledge, it has a more, like...
Proper?
Yeah, I was trying not to say proper, but it has that
proper
kind of feel to it. Yeah, so I suspect it might be, like, France closed captions, and then Quebec. But my point is that the Chief really should be, like, voiced by an Acadian, if that's the case.
That would be hilarious.
That would be great.
Just an absolute mess.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be so fun. No, like, he's got a thick Irish accent. You gotta give him something.
Yeah.
Like...
Otherwise, like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. The Chief can't sound like he's from Montreal if fucking Terry Farrell sounds like she's from Montreal and everyone else sounds like they're from goddamn Montreal because it's the only place that apparently voice actors work in my head.
Montreal. Well, I mean...
Presumably.
Probably. Who the hell comes from Quebec City?
I was just thinking, I'm like, there's probably not a ton of like recording studios in Trois-Rivières like doing Netflix work.
I could get on board with the Starfleet experience in Montreal, though.
That could be cool.
That'd be really cool. And go to the Olympic Stadium.
Until it falls apart.
So,
it's been falling apart since it's been
too late. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Back on track. Where was I? Okay, so Children of Mars was fantastic. Data is dead about 20 years before this.
Yeah.
And the third thing is that much like... Oh, no, there's four things. My mistake. So the third thing is that the explosion of the Hobus star that occurred in Star Trek 2009, the J.J. Abrams reboot, it is confirmed to have happened in primary continuity.
Yeah.
So, yes, that connection does exist. The multiverse as we know it and understand it in that sense is still accurate.
The Hobus star, is that the actual Romulan homeworld star?
No, and I was just about to get into that because
I know that's what I thought. Is it's like a supernova that went bigger than like.
Yeah, so J.J. Abrams is a moron.
Okay.
And like Star Trek. Well, no, exactly.
Not at all.
Star Trek. It is deeply layered technobabble nonsense. Like you're right, none of this is necessarily accurate, but there are rules to it within its fiction, and if you say warp 8, there is an actual speed that is pegged to that. Yeah. That is
or the technology changes.
Exactly, or but you have to present the technology and explain it.
No, slipstream is a different type.
Yeah, yes, I know, but if you're saying warp 8 is always like going the equivalent to saying 40 kilometers an hour doesn't change if you're taking a train or a car. It's still 40 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, so you have to.
It's a different measure.
Yeah, you can say slipstream technology, but you then have to equate it back to the typical warp rate, and keep in mind the fixed distance of planets and systems in this galaxy.
And I want to hear any talk about warp 10.
We're not going into that.
That doesn't exist. We
I just want to put that out there.
The salamander is out.
My gorge was right as long as I just needed to. Okay.
But J.J. Abrams didn't give a crap about that because he doesn't care about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he said in the movie that the Hobos star, a star, went supernova. No, it was not the Romulan star, which would have made sense and gotten rid of all of this problem.
Yeah.
The Romulus star explodes suddenly. Okay, it's kind of like the moon Praxis.
Yeah.
Which, Jesus, guys, really on the nose with the name. Praxis exploding, i.e. Chernobyl exploding in the, around the orbit of Kronos. That would have made sense. Like, bad shit keeps happening to other places very close to home. It's kind of a running theme.
Yeah.
This apparently occurred 5,000 light years away from the Romulan system.
So it just somehow went super duper nova and blew up a massive chunk of the Beta Quadrant?
Yeah, so, yes. So what happened in the retcon that they had to do...
So it hit another star, it hit another star.
Not even. It exploded in subwarp.
What?
Yeah. So its explosion is traveling at subwarp. So, you can't avoid it unless you're faster than subwarp, and, it's a really fucking stupid explanation, but it's to fit a really fucking stupid mistake.
So annoying.
So that's why it was able to do what it did. That's why it's clearing out an entire massive section of Romulan space, because it's a subwarp supernova, and it's taking out 15,000 square light years of whatever.
Okay, mostly or almost entirely Romulan space?
Entirely Romulan and uncharted.
It's it's like getting into your car with a propane tank and lighting a cigarette. Is that fair enough?
That's a terrible analogy, but we are having fun making fun of a true local event.
In the real world.
This actually happened last week downtown, about 5 kilometers from us. Some moron got his goddamn
This is where we're from. And then you know what he did while he waited for the ambulance?
Please tell me.
Lit another cigarette.
Yes, he certainly did. He got another dart.
Okay.
Oh my god.
But back to a better world.
Back to a better world.
Romulus after the supernova. So Romulus is gone though, right?
Yes, Romulus and Remus were destroyed.
Good.
Along with...
Stupid Remus.
Yeah. So...
Romulus was nice.
Romulus was nice. Although there is a question that is brought up later in this episode due to some extra canon... Well, not extra canon, but side readings about the fate of the Remans. We'll get there. But in Star Trek 09, you kind of get the feeling that this happened very quickly. The star exploded, and there wasn't enough time to do anything about it. And Narada, the Narada, which was the ship that found it, piloted by Captain Nero, he just barely escaped, and he's one of the few remaining Romulans. That's kind of the idea you get, right?
Which has completely been retconned now.
It's completely retconned. There was essentially 6 months where everyone found out.
Yeah.
And so they were running... I'm just trying to remember. They were running evacuations already before the long before the attack on Mars. So a couple of months was going by. They had already done some evacuation activities, which brings us to the IDW published countdown comic, Picard. Now, they did a countdown comic to 2009 Star Trek, which fleshed out the red matter and why Spock was there with that crazy ship, and the subspace, the subwarp explosions. Essentially, this comic and these writers have had to, for years, clean up behind somewhat messy TV and movie writers. And so in that, we meet Captain Picard wearing a red and black outfit with his first officer, Raffi, aboard a ship that I can't for the life of me remember right now.
Gauntlet? Or
No.
Ulysses? No.
No. Okay, no, it's not going to come.
And it's not the Grant, but it's something like that.
It definitely has a better name than Raffi Musica.
Raffi Musica.
Raffi Musica.
Raffi Musica. And she, like, in the comics, she's just like a brilliant, reliable officer. We'll get to that. Anyway, Picard shows up at a Romulan system, and he's ready to take the Romulans away. They've got all the ships that they need for it. And he meets with the governor and finds out that the Romulans don't really trust him to start with, and they're making it very clear. Like, listen, we know that this is just a plot. This is a plot to destroy us. You're not actually going to save us. You probably blew up the star. I hate you, Picard. And so it's one of those things. And he's like, oh, bullshit, I'm here to save your asses. Excellent, Picard.
That was really good.
Thank you very much. And so they arrest him, and he gets busted out by two local Romulan vineyard workers. They own the local Romulan ale vineyard.
Okay.
And that is the characters of my God.
Loris and...
Yes, Loris and Zaban.
Your favorite Irish Romulan.
Oh my God, I am obsessed with this pair. Oh, they are the best. She is incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
And we will get into that.
Loris and who?
Zaban.
Okay.
So Loris and Zaban reveal themselves to Picard to be Tal Shiar agents, like embedded on this planet, because apparently, and as they explain it, the Tal Shiar spies on its own people constantly, and every colony world has a couple of Tal Shiar agents embedded secretly, and so it's just a thing. And this happened to be their assignment. They're not even there for him.
Yeah,
they're there to watch the governor and shit.
Yeah,
but along with this is a slave population that
I've heard about this. Yes.
Yeah, they didn't mention to Starfleet or anyone because they're just like, no. You're going to save the citizens of the Romulan Empire.
Yeah. Who
the fuck cares about these slaves?
Yeah.
And Picard, of course, is like, never! So he's like, no, I have to pull together a way to get everyone off or no one goes. They try to fight him, and Laris and Zaban help him.
This is all canon, by the way?
This is all canon.
Okay.
This is the background to what we end up with as the status quo.
So, wait a minute. Are we believing that Romulan society as a whole has a slave caste then? Or just this one particular governor is awful on this planet?
Yeah, this is the indigenous
I'm considering it more like it's more state-based.
Yes.
Like each state has their rules, and you just don't fuck with them.
Exactly. The governor, when they came to this planet to colonize it, there was an indigenous species who they subjugated and turned into slaves. So it's not an empire-wide thing, and actually that gets addressed by the end of the comic. Yeah. So Lars, Zaban, and Picard help to get word out to the Federation that this is happening, and that they need new ships, and that ship in orbit, our ship, we're in trouble. Come get us, and to contact the Romulan military and Senate, who are working with Picard. Because the Senate and the military, the official Senate and military, are like, yeah, we're going to fucking die. Yeah. Jean-Luc Picard has a great, reputation with us. And, he's the only human we do trust. We owe him one for saving our asses from those Remans. So a full-on Romulan Senate-like flagship appears, and they arrest the governor, and Laris and Zaban go with Picard because they're like, we have nothing to do with this civilization anymore. We've actually become pacifists while we were waiting here. And our mission was actually to trick you to come here so that we can then take over the Enterprise, because the Tal Shiar doesn't trust you, even if the Senate does. And Z'Ban's like, and I have just taken over your ship, but fuck the Tal Shiar. And that's kind of how it ends. So Lars and Z'Ban go with Picard, and they try to save as many people as they can.
Okay.
And that's the setup. That's the grand setup. So Data is dead. The Hoba star did explode and take Romulan society and structure with it, it seems.
Yeah, the Romulan... Well, we can't get to that yet.
We certainly will, though.
We can't get to that yet.
And something after these evacuations occurred attacked Mars.
Yes, and that is all we know at the end of the comics and
Children of Mars.
Okay.
And through Insurrection, one thing we can't forget is that Data did download all of his memories to B4.
No, we'll get to that next episode, unfortunately. There is a line. And I hate the line.
No, I think it makes sense.
I think it makes sense, but I hate it.
Right.
As a geek, I hate it.
I know.
Anyway, we shall,
just to say one last thing about Children of Mars, because this Children of Mars, aside from the trailers, was our first look at what the world looks like at this point in time, right?
Yes, it was.
It's so lush and real.
Oh,
and
it's
tangible.
So beautiful.
Everything makes so much more sense. It's not the I mean, we don't need to go on about how much we all love Star Trek, but the aesthetic has always been kind of austere. Like, there's never really been... Society has never seemed layered.
Yeah.
Like, Battlestar Galactica, when they had flashbacks to, like, the colonies, was fucking layered as shit.
Layer upon
that
layer.
Culture felt real. Whereas,
but futuristic.
Whereas Star Trek Civil Society has never had anything but, like, jazz music. And that's jazz music and Shakespeare, and seems to be an occasional tap dance.
You get everything that you want,
but there's been no, like, with very brief, badly done movie scene exceptions, there's never been any hint of, like, media or, like, any kind of real popular culture.
Yeah.
And, like, in this tiny little webisode, everything was so real because it was all... 9/11 was happening. Everyone, of course, was glued to every screen they could find.
Yeah.
Like, it was very relatable.
And the only thing that pulled me out for even a second, actually, was the appearance of Picard, where they, like, as this attack is occurring, they're like, we have gotten in contact with Admiral Picard, and it's like, isn't he a little busy?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know. He's the one in charge of the fleet that is in orbit. Also,
yeah, that was a bit weird.
That something does get left up in the air due to the comics, and I don't know where this is going, but I am afeared.
Okay.
Geordi was on.
Geordi's alive.
Oh, thank God.
Oh! Oh no! Oh no!
I didn't know that though.
I've stepped in it.
I didn't know that.
I've stepped in it. It's
so
we can reveal it. We can officially reveal that spoiler as of the next episode.
Yeah, but now I'm happy. Ignore.
Yeah.
No, but he was discussed in the comics though.
Well, no, it was discussed in the comics, but he was on Utopia Planitia before the attack, and like in a way that's like he was still there, kind of like. It was
and maybe he still is. We don't know. Spoilers. Yeah. Sorry about that. Geordi's alive. I apologize.
No, that's a perfectly acceptable. Listen. If your spoiler is that LeVar Burton is healthy and safe, I am happy.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel bad about that at all.
We are perfectly okay with that. Anyway, that concludes this first opening episode. One moment. Why is there no power to that? Anyway, there we go. Thank you so much for listening to Please Won't You Shut Up, a Star Trek Picard podcast. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please ding the thing for more updates.
Ding the thing.
Ding the thing. Don't forget to visit HereEgo Productions on Patreon, where you will find this and other podcasts and videos. Plus,
how do we?
much,
We
much
should
more.
tell people how do we? Because I had trouble one day. How do we find us on YouTube again?
So we can find us on YouTube by just searching "Please Won't You Shut Up" or going to youtube.com/mygenderiscinema.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I'm old. I'm a YouTube person now.
There you go. And please show your support by pledging as little as $1 a month so we can keep bringing these shows to you with great equipment. Until next time, to absent friends.
No, we were being absent.
No, you assholes.